The power of quiet effort built in silence. Grow in truth. Have you ever felt like you're fighting your battles in silence? You wake up early. You show up every day. You push through fatigue, self-minus doubt, and disappointment. And still no applause. No recognition. Just the quiet echo of your own thoughts asking, is it even worth it? Let me tell you something very few people will say out loud. Yes, it's worth it. But only if you understand one thing. Real strength doesn't make noise. We live in a world that rewards noise. Everyone's shouting their progress. Posting the gym selfie after one workout. Bragging about goals they haven't turned yet. But the strongest minds? They don't need the spotlight. They don't need to be seen. Because they're building something deeper. They're building character. And character grows best in silence. This isn't just personal preference. It's ancient wisdom. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, they didn't tell the world their plans. They acted. They endured. They persisted without the need to broadcast. Because they understood a truth that most have forgotten. The more you talk about your goals, the less likely you are to reach them. That's not philosophy. That's psychology. There's a study by Peter Gulwitz at NYU that found this. When you tell others your goals, your brain gets an early dopamine reward. It feels like you've already achieved something, when in reality, you've just spoken. No sweat, no discipline, no execution. And that's the trap. You start building a house in the woods, but every time you lay one brick, you run outside to show someone. Eventually the house never gets finished, because all your energy went to being seen, not to building. So it's the Stoic way. You wake up. You choose one small action that moves you forward. And you tell no one. You write it in a notebook by hand. Not on a blog. Not on your story. Not in a group chat. Just to yourself. One line did it. No explanation. No audience. Just action. And if you fail that day, you don't excuse. You don't complain. You try again. Quietly. Without fanfare. Because over time, something incredible happens. Your silence becomes your superpower. People will start to notice. Not because you told them, but because you've changed. They'll ask what happened. And you'll smile because you'll know. I just did what I said I would do. Every day. Without needing to be seen. That's the mindset of someone who built something real. So if you're in that place right now, pushing through with no recognition, working when no one's clapping, doing the right thing even when it's invisible, stay there. Stay there and keep going. Because one day, your results will speak so loudly, you won't have to say a word. Let go of recognition and keep moving in the dark. You wake up early. You work harder. You sacrifice more. You discipline your thoughts, your habits, your attention. But no one sees. No one claps. No one posts about your progress. And there's a voice in your head that whispers. What's the point? Let me answer that voice clearly. The point is not to be seen. The point is to be real. Because the second you do it for applause, you stop doing it for truth. And what you build for attention will collapse the moment no one is watching. But what you build in silence, that's yours forever. We live in an age of performative effort. People post their morning routines more than they do them. They talk about mental discipline more than they practice it. They start a project and announce it immediately, not because it's real, but because they crave recognition. But here's what the Stoics believe. True excellence is quiet, not because it's hiding, but because it's grounded. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, if you really want to change, you have to let go of looking impressive. You have to let go of the dopamine that comes from being praised. Because here's the truth. Real growth often looks like nothing. It looks like waking up at 5:30 a.m. when no one's there to notice, saying no to comfort when no one's clapping, reading the book, doing the workout, taking the cold shower and telling no one, failing quietly, adjusting silently, and showing up again anyway. It looks like boring repetition, invisible persistence, silent transformation. And most people, they'll never feel it, because they're too addicted to recognition. They'd rather be seen as changing than actually change. That's why your path will feel lonely. You'll feel misunderstood. You'll wonder, why am I still working when others are celebrated for doing half as much? Why am I building slowly while others are flashing fake success? Why does this discipline feel invisible? But that's the cost of truth. And if you can embrace the cost, you'll buy your freedom. Because now you're doing it for the right reason. Not to be liked, not to be admired, but to become someone you can't lie to. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Adrian. Quiet, steady, disciplined. He worked for years building a business, studying late, working out, writing in private. No social media, no public announcement. While his friends chased trends, Adrian chased truth. They laugh, call him obsessive. But one day, he didn't need to prove anything, because his work had already become undeniable. And when people asked, how did you get here? He didn't say much. He just smiled because the work had already spoken for him. That's what happens when you stop performing. You stop needing validation. You stop measuring progress by applause. You stop waiting for someone to finally notice, because you already did. You noticed the shift in your own posture. You noticed how much better you breathe. You noticed how your thoughts are clearer, your standards higher, your habits cleaner. That's the only recognition that counts. So here's your Stoic practice. 1. Start a private ritual. Something no one knows about. Wake up early unread. Take a cold shower every day. Write in a journal no one will see. Fast twice a week. Train in silence. Whatever it is, do it for you. Let it be a temple. A sacred space where performance ends and self-minus respect begins. 2. Track your own respect. Forget likes. Forget praise. Instead, ask, did I keep my word to myself today? Did I do the right thing when no one was watching? Am I becoming someone I admire? That's your scoreboard. Nothing else. 3. Stop explaining. People will ask, why are you doing all this? Why do you try so hard? Who are you trying to impress? You don't tell them answers. You don't need to justify effort. Your life is not a performance. It's a practice. And if they can't see it yet, that's okay. They're not supposed to. This chapter is private. Let it be sacred. Let it be your secret advantage. Because while they scroll, you build. While they talk, you train. While they chase trends, you sharpen truth. And when the moment comes, when the results arrive, when the discipline becomes visible, you won't have to prove anything. Because the world always sees eventually. But by then, you'll be too focused to care, too aligned to gloat, too grounded to explain. Because you'll know, I didn't do it for them. I did it to keep a promise to myself. And that's a power no one can give you and no one can take away. When silence becomes a weapon, you don't have to speak to be heard. Some people talk a lot and say nothing. Others say nothing and still speak volumes. You felt it. That moment when someone walks into a room and says little, but the whole atmosphere shifts. Not because of charisma. Not because of size, not because of noise, because of presence. And presence doesn't come from being loud. It comes from doing the work in silence. Over time, your silence becomes layered. Each early morning, each lonely rep, each choice no one sees. You become quiet, not out of fear, but because you no longer need to convince. You become so grounded in who you are that the world leans in to figure it out. The Stoics were masters of this energy. They rarely argued. They didn't boast. They didn't flex. Because they knew noise is often compensation for internal weakness. Stillness is often proof of internal strength. Seneca wrote, "Work in silence. Let your success be your noise." We've heard that quote before, but most people miss what it means. It's not about waiting until you succeeded to show off. It's about understanding that you don't need to show off. Ever. Because real power doesn't need to be explained. It's felt. Let me ask you, why are you so quick to speak? Why do you feel the need to defend yourself? Why do you chase the last word? Every time you argue, explain, or prove, you give your energy away. You let the world pull you into its chaos. But the one who stays silent, not out of passivity, but out of choice, that person controls the fray. Here's the truth. The more you say, the more predictable you become. The more you react, the easier you are to manipulate. But silence is unpredictable. It makes people question. And in that space, you gain the advantage. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Elijah. Quiet, thoughtful, unshakable. He was underestimated in every room he entered until he spoke. And when he did, he didn't speak to impress. He spoke to move things forward. That's it. No fluff. No ego. Just clean, intentional communication. He once said, "My silence is not weakness. It's proof that I choose when to invest my energy." People started listening, not because he raised his voice, but because he didn't use it unless it mattered. He became respected, not for his noise, but for his restraint. That's what silence can do for you. So here's your practice. 1. Stop oversharing. You don't tell anyone your plan. You don't need to explain your schedule, your mission, your dream. Not yet. Let the work reveal it. Let your presence evolve beyond the need for clarification. 2. Practice strategic silence. In your next disagreement, don't interrupt. Don't defend. Just breathe. Let them speak. Then respond with intention or not at all. Remember, silence can't be misquoted. 3. Use the 5-second rule. Before you speak, count to 5 in your mind. Is this necessary? Is this truthful? Is this better left unsaid? Most of the time you'll find it isn't needed. 4. Reclaim your mystery. You've been taught that people need to understand you to love you. Not true. They need to respect you. And respect begins when you stop making yourself overly available mentally, emotionally, energetically. Pull your energy back in. Hold your center. Speak less but mean every word you say. Because silence isn't emptiness. It's presence under control. And when you've trained yourself to be calm in the storm, to speak only when needed, to act without announcing, you become something rare. Someone whose presence is felt before you enter the room. Someone who doesn't beg for attention. Because you're too busy building something that will outlast the noise. That's how silence becomes a weapon. Not to harm others, but to guard your clarity, to protect your peace, to move through life undistracted and undeterred. So the next time you feel the urge to post, explain, impress, ask yourself, does this add anything real or is it noise? Then choose silence. Let your next move speak for itself. And when they wonder what you're up to, let them wonder. You've got better things to do. Discipline is freedom. You don't need motivation. You need decision. There's a lie you've been sold your whole life. The lie that you need to feel ready. That you need motivation to begin. That you need to be inspired, hyped up, or emotionally aligned to act. But here's the Stoic truth. You don't need motivation. You need a decision. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a system. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays and builds. Most people don't get that. That's why they wait. They wait to feel energized. They wait until they're in the mood. They wait for January. They wait for clarity. They wait until the pain of staying the same outweighs the fear of changing. But the Stoic doesn't wait. They act. Because they've learned it. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is doing what's right, even when you don't feel like it. Let's get brutally honest. You know what you need to do. Wake up earlier. Move your body. Cut the distractions. Read more. Scroll less. Build the habits. Show up consistently. But your mind tells you, I don't feel like it today. So what? Since when is your mood the boss of your mission? Epictetus said, no great thing is created suddenly. There must be time. There must be effort. But what kind of effort? Deliberate. Repeated. Unsexy. Unseen. That's what real discipline looks like. It's not the motivational speech. It's not the New Year's resolution. It's the Tuesday morning when you don't want to do it and you do it anyway. Because you've stopped negotiating with yourself. And once you stop negotiating, you stop needing motivation. Let me give you a rule. Never ask your feelings for permission to do what your values already decided. It sounds simple. It's not. But it's life minus changing. Because, here's the secret. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, your self minus respect increases. And self minus respect is a real currency. Not confidence. Not talent. Not charm. Self minus respect is what lets you look in the mirror and say, I trust me. That trust? That's unshakable. That's what builds the mind that doesn't need applause, doesn't need energy drinks, doesn't need external hype. Because it knows. I do what I say I'll do no matter how I feel. That's terrifying to people who haven't tasted it. And that's why most people won't join you. They'll call you rigid, too serious, too focused. Let them. Because the ones who choose discipline, they get to enjoy something the others never will. Freedom. Freedom from self-minus doubt. Freedom from regret. Freedom from chaos. Freedom from the addiction to comfort. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Lee. For years, she started things and never finished them. Fitness plans, journals, courses, businesses. She was always excited at the beginning, but she burned out fast. Until one morning, she wrote a single sentence on her wall. I don't rise to the level of motivation. I fall to the level of my habits. That changed everything. She started small. 10 push-ups every morning. No phone until after writing. 30-minute walks no matter what. No one clapped. But she did it anyway. And after 90 days, her body changed. Her work changed. Her confidence changed. Because she didn't rely on energy. She relied on identity. She stopped asking, do I feel like it? And started asking, what would a disciplined person do right now? Then she did that. You can too. So here's your practice. 1. Make an unminus negotiable list. 3 actions per day. Small. Clear. Executable. 10 minutes of reading. 20 minutes of movement. No phone before 9 a.m. You don't miss these. No matter what. 2. Track consistency, not intensity. It's not about doing the hardest workout. It's about showing up every day. Discipline compounds. Don't break the chain. 3. Create your default you. What identity are you choosing when motivation is gone? The I finish what I start you. The I show up even tired you. The I don't lie to myself anymore you. Write that identity. Live from it. 4. Build your emotional override. When your mind says, let's skip today. We can start tomorrow. One day off won't hurt. Your override says, It's not about today's feeling. It's about my future self. And you move anyway. Because now, you're not relying on willpower. You're relying on who you've decided to become. And that's when discipline becomes effortless. Not easy, but automatic. Like gravity. You don't resist it. You don't need to psych yourself up. You just do it. Because that's what you do. And the more you live like that, the less you'll need motivation. The less you'll be tossed around by mood. The less you'll even need to think about it. You'll just act. And that's freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want. The freedom to do what's right regardless of how you feel. Perseverance is not stubbornness, it's knowing what's worth building, no matter how long it takes. There's a certain kind of pain that comes not from failure, but from continuing something long enough to question whether it's even working. You felt it. You're consistent. You're disciplined. You show up, and still no results. No breakthroughs. No magic moment. Just another day of effort. And the question creeps in. Am I being strong or am I being stupid? Let's be clear. Not all perseverance is wise. Some is just ego wearing the mask of resilience. But when the Stoics talked about endurance, when they praised the virtue of persistence, they didn't mean pushing blindly. They meant holding steady when your values are clear, your direction is aligned, and your mind is rooted in reason, not reaction. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." He didn't mean suffering for suffering's sake. He meant this: you cannot become who you are meant to be without walking through seasons where progress is invisible. And when those seasons come, you don't stop. You slow down. You refine. You pause to evaluate. But you don't quit just because the world has caught up to your effort. Let me ask you, are you clear on what you're rebuilding? Or are you just addicted to movement? Because perseverance without purpose becomes punishment. But when you know your why, when you've chosen your mission from a place of clarity, not hype, not ego, you stop chasing results. And you start cultivating character. Here's the paradox. You're not being tested to see how fast you can go. You're being tested to see how long you can remain faithful. Not to an outcome, but to a process. Not to approval, but to your principles. Because eventually the world will try to wear you down. People will tell you, it's taking too long. Try something easier. Why are you still doing this? And when that comes, you don't argue. You don't defend. You just keep going because you're not here for applause. You're here for alignment. Let me tell you a story. There was a craftsman named Kale. He carved wood. Slowly. Precisely. Each piece took weeks. No shortcuts. No machines. People mocked him. Said, why not produce faster? He said nothing. He just kept carving. One day, a collector walked into his shop. Bought everything. Commissioned more. Overnight, Kale's life changed. But he didn't celebrate. He just went back to carving. Because his reward was the sale. His reward was that he never betrayed his process. That's perseverance. So here's your practice. 1. Define your long game. What are you building that's worth doing even if it takes years? Write it. Feel it. Own it. Because if it's not worth a decade, why give it your day? 2. Break it into silent seasons. Stop expecting results in 30 days. Work in quarters. In years. In lifetimes. Let the roots grow and seem before you expect flowers. 3. Choose it daily. Every morning, ask, if I could start fresh today, would I still pick this path? If yes, go harder. If no, recalibrate. But don't stay stuck out of pride. 4. Measure what matters. Not views. Not likes. Not income spikes. But, did I show up? Did I act with integrity? Did I stay loyal to what I said I'd build before it was cool? That's real progress. That's what endures. Because here's what no one tells you. Your consistency is terrifying. Not because you're imperfect, but because you don't stop. Not even when it's boring. Not even when it's thankless. Not even when the noise gets loud. Because you've built a quiet power. You trust the process more than the praise. You believe in the mission more than the mood. And one day, your discipline will become visible. People will call you overnight success. They'll call you lucky. But you'll know. It was luck. It was day after day of showing up. When no one clapped. When no one believed. When no one cared but you. That's not stubbornness. That's resolve. And in a world of quitters, that kind of resolve, that's rare. That's sacred. That's unstoppable. You don't need to defend yourself, let your results speak for you. There's a moment in every journey where the whispers get louder. People question you, doubt you, criticize you quietly or to your face. They ask, why are you working so hard? What are you even chasing? Isn't that a bit extreme? Who do you think you are? And in that moment, you'll feel the pull. The pull to defend, to explain, to make them understand. But here's the truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your growth. Your journey is not a group project. Your discipline doesn't need a PR team. Your mission was voted on and it doesn't need approval to continue. You are not here to convince. You are here to become. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Because here's what happens when you try to justify yourself to everyone. You drain your energy. You dilute your focus. You open your spirit to people who have in turn access to your mind. And worst of all, you make your path smaller just to make it palatable to others. Don't do that. Your path is sacred. Protect it from unnecessary commentary. Let your actions speak. Let your results announce your arrival. Because eventually, they'll see that the late nights mattered, that the early mornings paid off, that the quiet sacrifices build something solid. They'll see the difference in how you move, how you lead, how you no longer flinch under pressure. But by then, you won't care who sees. Because by then, you'll be walking in a deeper kind of power, the kind that doesn't seek to be seen, because it's already certain. Let me tell you a story. There was a young woman named Rhea. Disciplined, focused, misunderstood. Her family didn't get it. Her friends rolled their eyes at her habits. They called her too much, obsessed, unrealistic. She tried explaining. At first, tried softening her message, tried justifying the way she trained, the way she worked, the life she was building. Until one day, her mentor told her, "You're watering down your fire to comfort people who fear their own potential." That day, she stopped explaining. She stopped defending. She just got quieter, sharper. And over time, the same people who mocked her started asking her for advice. Because the truth is, people don't change their minds from arguments. They change their minds when your results make their excuses impossible. So stop debating. Stop explaining. Let your results carry the message. This is what happens when you don't give up. Here's your Stoic practice. 1. Create a no defense rule. If it's not a trusted mentor, a meaningful relationship, or a clear misunderstanding, you don't owe a response. You don't clap back. You don't explain your schedule. You don't seek validation. You nod, smile, and return to your mission. 2. Let your metrics be private. You're not here to prove. You're here to perform in silence. Every rep, every dog, every journal page, every deep breath in chaos. Let it accumulate, privately, because when the reveal comes, it will be undeniable. 3. Build what can't be debated. People can argue your ideas. They can criticize your dreams. But they can't argue results, mastery, consistency, peace, power, presence. So build those things. Let them be your rebuttal. 4. Understand this silence is not weakness. It's strategy. It's self-minus respect. It's knowing you don't win by being louder. You win by becoming so undeniably excellent that you no longer need to speak at all. And by the time they realize what you've done, you'll be too late for them to catch up. You will have built what they only talked about. You will have embodied what they only performed. And your success? It won't be for show. It will be your nature. Effortless, grounded, earned. So when they question you, don't flinch. Don't argue. Just smile. And go back to work. Because soon enough, the results will say what you never had to. Consistency is your advantage while they sleep, you build. You've probably heard this before. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. But there's something even rarer than talent. Something more terrifying to the world than genius. Consistency. Because consistency doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't need a good day. It doesn't depend on inspiration. It doesn't need noise, motivation, or followers. It just keeps going. Like a heartbeat. Unnoticed. Uncelebrated. But absolutely essential. And when combined with clarity, it becomes unstoppable. Here's the truth. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they're inconsistent. They start. They get excited. They post about it. Then they vanish. Start again. Repeat. No roots. No rhythm. No staying power. But you're different. Because you've chosen the path of silence. You've chosen the slow burn. The unsexy grind. The early mornings. The skip parties. The quiet evenings spent refining, not relaxing. And while they're chasing hacks, you're rebuilding something no algorithm can replicate. Momentum. The Stoics would admire that. They didn't believe in flashes of brilliance. They believed in the daily sharpening of the soul. Epictetus taught his students not to talk about philosophy but to live it. Not once. Every day. That's consistency. So let me ask you, what are you doing so consistently that even if the results don't show for a year, it will still have been worth it? If your answer is nothing, you're not building, you're waiting. But if your answer is clear, you're already ahead. Because most people won't do anything long enough to get good, let alone great. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Luca. He was the smartest in his field. Not the most connected. Not the most naturally gifted. But he showed up every day. Same time. Same process. No shortcuts. No big announcements. Just quiet work. And after 3 years, he surpassed everyone. Not because he was better, but because he never stopped. That's what consistency does. It compounds. Day 1, nothing. Day 30, tiny progress. Day 365, something's forming. Day 730, people start to notice. Day 1000, they ask you how you did it. And you say, I just didn't quit. It's not glamorous, but it's deadly. Because once momentum is on your side, you no longer need to sprint. You just keep moving and the world starts falling behind. Here's your practice. 1. Make consistency your identity. Stop calling it a grind. Call it your nature. Say, I am the kind of person who keeps showing up. That alone rewires your habits. 2. Choose one thing to repeat daily. It can be small. Write 100 words. Move your body. Practice silence. Say no to one distraction. But do it every single day. without fail. 3. Track streaks, not perfection. Create a habit tracker. Draw an X every time you show up. The goal isn't mastery. It's momentum. Momentum makes the hard days easier. Because now, quitting isn't just a break. It's breaking your chain. 4. Forgive lapses but never excuse laziness. You'll miss a day. Fine. But you don't miss 2. And you never confuse comfort with rest. Rest is sacred. Laziness is self betrayal. Know the difference. 5. Let your rhythm terrify them. Because here's what happens when you become consistent. You stop flinching. You stop hoping. You stop starting over. You move with quiet certainty. And people begin to notice. They ask, how are you always so focused? Why are you so calm? Because they don't understand. They're still living in spikes of effort, while you've built a baseline that doesn't shake. That's power. Not loud. Relentless. So tomorrow, don't make a plan to go hard. Make a vow to keep going. Because over time, that vow becomes your reputation. Your consistency becomes your signature. And one day, it becomes your legacy. Say nothing. Prove nothing. Stop for nothing. By now, you've learned to move without noise, to push yourself without applause, to show up without the need for validation. You've trained your mind to act without motivation, to return to your path when it gets lonely, to ignore the doubts, distractions, and noise of the crowd. But now comes the final step. You stop proving. You stop announcing. You stop seeking any confirmation from the world. Why? Because the strongest energy is not loud. It's inevitable. You no longer say, watch me. You say nothing. Because the results are already on the way. Because your identity is already forged. Because your peace is no longer up for discussion. This isn't about arrogance. This is about arrival. Not the arrival of success. The arrival of alignment. Of knowing who you are. Of knowing what matters. Of knowing what you're rebuilding and why it's worth every quiet, brutal, invisible day. You've become dangerous now. Not because you threaten anyone, but because you no longer need anything from them. Their praise? Optional. Their approval? Irrelevant. Their doubt? Powerless. Because your mind belongs to you. Not to the critics. Not to the watchers. Not to the algorithm. Just you and the path. And if they ask, what are you working on these days? You smile. Not because you're hiding anything, but because you know they'll find out when they're meant to. And by then, you'll be 10 moves ahead. Let me leave you with this. You're not here to tell the world who you are. You're here to build a life so unshakable. The world has no choice but to respect it. You're not here to chase influence. You're here to develop inner gravity. A presence that doesn't need volume. A focus that doesn't flinch. A fire that doesn't explain itself. So starting now, you speak less. You show more. Not in what you say, but in how you move. How you breathe when others panic. How you rise when others stall. How you keep going when no one claps, cares, or even believes. Because here's the final truth. Real power is quiet. But once it's fully formed, it speaks louder than anything you could have said. So keep showing up. Keep building. Keep sharpening your edge in the dark. And say nothing. Because soon, they'll hear you. Even in your silence. We are currently giving away a free ebook, 12 Stoic lessons that will change your life. To receive your gift, simply follow the channel and leave a comment that says, I have followed, or I would like to receive the gift. We will reply with the download link directly below your comment.